is suing her former friend, Ronald Matt Carroll, for injuries to her 6-year-old daughter, Tiffany, resulting from a go-kart crash.
Now, this is case number 70 on the calendar in the matter of Way versus Carroll. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat.
Miss Way, it is your claim that Mr. Carroll was using one of those bumper cars.
A go-kart.
Go-kart. At a
Amusement facility.
And you were not present.
No, I wasn't.
But your daughter was present.
My daughter was present.
Your daughter was there with a friend?
With my sister-in-law, her aunt.
And it is your claim that Mr. Carroll bumped into her and that he injured her.
Correct.
And you want him to compensate you. Mr. Carroll says he absolutely did not do that.
Correct.
Okay, so why don't you step up because you're the only one who was there. Tell me your name.
Rhonda Way.
All right, Miss Way. You took your niece to the amusement park?
Yes, I did.
And these go-karts are in a confined area?
Yes, they are.
Really, we used to call them bumper cars. Is that what they are? They have...
No, they're driving go-karts. They're not
It's
bumper
like on
cars.
a racetrack, a go-kart.
Like a track, yeah.
Gas-powered.
Do they have things around the cars so that they sort of cushion the blow?
No.
Yes. Yes. They have a steel framework around them.
Steel frame? No. What about rubber?
No.
No, it's not one of those ones that would be in the, like a confined ring that bump each
Right.
other with the thing that drives it around.
Right.
No, they're free driving vehicles.
And everybody goes very fast?
Yes.
Yes.
It's a race.
Yes.
It's a race.
How old is your daughter?
She's 6.
Not too smart to put her on that kind of a ride.
Your Honor, she was the passenger in the seat with me.
I don't care whether she was a passenger in the seat or driving. It's not too smart to take her in one of these cars. There are rides specifically set up for little children. So I wouldn't take mine on one of those cars. I don't know whether you would have taken your
I
daughter.
probably wouldn't have, no.
No, because it's just not smart. Do they wear helmets?
No.
No.
And these are open cars.
No.
No.
There's a roof that comes over the top, and they latch it in, and you're seat belted in.
Didn't prevent her from becoming injured.
No, it didn't.
That's why you don't take her. All right, so you exercised poor judgment in taking her as a passenger in this car. Tell me what happened.
Her and I get in the car together, and Mr. Carroll and his son get in.
You knew each other.
Yes, we do. He's my husband's best friend.
Go ahead.
They get in the car behind us, and we start the race, and about, I'd say, a couple laps into it, all the cars get stopped completely, and it's apparently due to the fact that he was spun out on the track. So they had to restart the whole race. Come time for the end of the race, we go into the dock, and we're waiting to be let out of the vehicles. You have to wait for all of them to get in for safety reasons and be parked completely at a stop before they'll let you out. And we're stopped, and he comes in behind us and hits us, and that's the point of the injury.
Okay. You were facing forward, so how did you know it was his car that hit you?
I turned around and saw that it was him, because I immediately thought to myself that that wasn't correct, that happened. It says on the steering wheel, no bumping.
Okay. Did you say anything to Mr. Carroll?
Yes, I did.
What did you say to him?
I told him that I thought after we got out of the vehicle, I thought that he was a jerk for doing what he did.
And what did he say?
He just laughed, and we bantered back and forth because we were
Well, I
racing
want to hear what
each
the
other.
banter was.
He was upset because he said this little kid spun him out on the track previously, and he was trying to catch up with us. He was just upset about the fact that...
No, don't tell me what you think. Tell me what he said to you, Miss Way. I only want to know what he said to you.
He just...
If you don't remember, you can tell me I don't remember what he said. But you had a conversation with
Yes,
him.
we did.
I think it was more of just a bantering back and forth.
It was.
I don't know what bantering means. I want to know what was said.
I won, no, you didn't.
No,
win.
you weren't there.
No, I wasn't. I was just giving you an
Fine.
example of what bantering would mean to me.
Okay, Mr. Carroll, let me hear your version of the events, sir.
Mine's a lot clearer than that. I was in the back of the race most of the time, so I said I seen everything that went on during the whole race. There was 2 times there was stoppage completely on the track, and the first one was from the wreck that they were in. I'm assuming. I couldn't honestly tell you for sure if
Then
that
don't,
was their car.
weren't
don't
in a
tell
wreck.
me anything.
Okay, but there was a wreck. There was a pileup in front of us, and their cart was the one that was ahead of us. And I was almost for sure it was them because I was trying to catch them. We were in a race. And the little kid who was behind me. As I was coming around the corner, he spun me out.
How did he spin you out?
He caught me behind my left tire and between the wall as I was coming around the corner. And it was a pretty good move, actually. And he spun us out. He spun us out, and when he did, he went past, and that's when I seen him go into the pileup. And I can't honestly say who was all in the pileup. I wouldn't really pay that close
I'm not
attention.
interested in the pileup. They were stopped at the finish
Well, that's when I think the injury
line.
occurred, if there was one.
Just a second.
Okay.
I just want you to tell me your version of the race. Okay, there was a pileup.
Right.
You thought it was hurt, but I want to get to the finish line.
All right. Then we continued the race. They started everybody up, and I was trying to catch up with them again. At that point, I was pretty much last. And we was coming around to it was like the third turn from the end, and this little kid got me again. He spun me out exactly the same way, and that stalled out my go-kart then and his. And everybody else continued on and finished up the race, pulled in. Well, the guy had to run out there and restart my go-kart and the kids and turn us around, and we came in. And as we pulled in, we seen them standing on the side. They were standing on the side. I stopped a foot behind the go-kart. I mean, not only did I not hit them in the back, nobody did, because I pulled up behind that go-kart.
Okay. Now, Miss Way, how many times were you involved in a pileup?
None.
You mean during the course of the race you had no contact with any other car?
If we bumped to the side during passing, maybe once or twice. Maybe
well,
once
that's what I'm asking
But not
you.
a pileup.
How many times did you have contact with another car?
During the race or after? Because after the
Both.
race, okay, I would say 4.
And when you have contact going at what speed?
I'm not sure how fast the vehicle goes, but I had it floored.
So fast.
Yes,
Certainly faster than you were going when you were at a dead stop.
correct.
So there were 4 times when your daughter could have been injured.
No, I don't believe that she was injured.
No,
at
listen
that
to
time.
me. I don't care what you believe. Your sister-in-law says that the car was hit 4 times.
Not from the rear.
I don't care whether it's from the rear or not.
That's what caused the injury, was a rear.
No, I don't know that at all.
Okay.
What I'm saying is there were 4 times when your daughter was in the go-kart was hit.
Right.
Going full speed.
Correct.
That's 4 times opportunity to be injured. Now, would you come up here, please?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So you only got hit once by Mr. Carroll.
Yes,
She says you got hit twice.
I think she's confused.
And later today,
You co-signed on a loan, too?
I co-signed on the car for her. I was being too generous.
You were not a very good judge of character.
No, ma'am.
Neither was your son.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Christina May claims her 6-year-old daughter, Tiffany, was injured due to Ronald Matt Carroll's actions on a go-kart track. Christina claims Matt purposely crashed his go-kart into Tiffany's.
Tell me your name.
Tiffany.
Tiffany, do you remember being in the go-kart? Okay. Were you frightened? Had you been in the go-kart before? Do you remember that day when you were in the go-kart?
Sunday.
Were you going really fast?
Kind of fast.
And you weren't frightened? Do you remember the go-kart being hit? How many times was it hit when you were going around the track?
One time.
Just one time? Was the go-kart going fast when you were hit? Did you see who hit your go-kart? Who was that?
Matt.
Who's Matt? That man? And your go-kart was moving when that happened? What happened when you stopped?
When we stopped, he came right behind us and he hit a go-kart. My head went forward and went all the way back.
So that was the second time that Matt hit you. Is that right? And you're sure that Matt hit you twice? Did somebody tell you that Matt hit you twice?
My aunt that went behind and it was him.
Your aunt looked behind and it was him. So your aunt told you it was him. Why don't you have a seat? Now, Miss Way, you didn't tell me that you got hit twice by Mr. Carroll.
We didn't get hit twice.
So you only got hit once by Mr. Carroll.
Yes,
She says you got hit twice by Mr. Carroll.
I think she's confused.
I think you shouldn't have taken her in the go-kart.
I see that.
That's what I think. If you adults want to go in the go-kart, that's your business. But to take these children and place them at risk They're not having a good time. I guarantee you she was not having a good time.
No, she wasn't. She was in a neck brace for 5 weeks because of this.
Well, she was in the neck brace for 5 weeks because of somebody. I'm not sure who it was, but it was because of somebody. The person that I know is at fault is her.
Well,
Now listen to me very carefully, my dear. The person I know is at fault is her.
I understand that.
Good. He doesn't get any medals either for taking his daughter
I understand
in a
that.
go-kart.
I
However,
understand that.
I don't think that he's an idiot, other than the fact that they're both idiots for putting these children at risk. And I don't think he would do anything purposely to place his daughter at risk by crashing into your go-kart.
His daughter wasn't in the car with him. His son was in the car with him.
Same difference.
What difference does it
I
make? You mean he likes the daughter better than he likes the son?
No.
I'm going to tell you whose fault this was. Hers. If he banged into the car, according to your witness, 4 times she was hit during the course of that race.
She wasn't rear-ended, though. And
Listen to me. You can make any excuse you like. You're not paying attention, madam.
I am paying attention.
You're not paying attention, madam. 4 times she was hit.
I understand.
The first time she was hit, I would have taken my charge back and say, I am not going to put this child at risk because this is not right. She chose not to do that. She chose to get hit once, according to her, not according to your daughter, but once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and go and finish the race. So the only thing I'm sure about is that she did the wrong thing by placing this child at risk.
I think that she has done the wrong thing by taking her on the ride, but I just wanted to state what my daughter told me after the scenario of the incident.
Don't tell me what your daughter told you. She just answered my questions. And what your daughter told you is hearsay.
Okay.
What she told me was that she didn't see who hit her, but that her aunt saw who hit her and told her who hit her. That's what she just told me. Now, that may be true. That may not be true. But that's what she told me.
Okay.
So I'm not satisfied, Miss Way. I'm satisfied that your daughter was injured. You say she was in a neck brace for 4 weeks. That's because of her aunt. It may be because of his actions, but I'm not convinced that it's because of his actions. I'm convinced that it's because of her aunt taking her on a ride that she had no business taking her on. So if you want to be angry with somebody, be angry at her. Case is dismissed, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may stay.
When she woke up in the morning, she was in a lot of severe pain.
I had no idea then at that time they were that certain it was me.
She had structures from C1 to C5 were damaged
But I was concerned about the kid being hurt, you know. So I wanted to know if she was all right.
and was in a C-collar, rigid C-collar for 5 weeks.
I would never have done this and then not admit to it at all.
No, I don't think that he did it on purpose. I think that it was something that happened, and I just wanted him to take responsibility for what occurred.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Chris versus Morin. Step forward, please.
Mary Chris and her son Jason are suing Jason's ex-fiancée, 23-year-old Angelina Morin, for a loan to buy a car and the return of an engagement ring.
Mr. Chris, this is your mom,
Yes, ma'am.
and this is your former fiancée.
Yes, ma'am.
You want your engagement ring back.
Yes.
And she says she has it, you could have it back. Bird, would you take it from her and give it to him? She doesn't want it, she just didn't want you to come and get it. Good. Now you can sit down. It is your claim that you loaned Miss Morin
Yes, ma'am.
money for the down payment on a car for her.
Yes, ma'am.
That is while she was engaged to your son,
It was before they got engaged.
before they got engaged. And she was married at the time that she became engaged to your son. She subsequently reconciled with her husband, and you want the loan back.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Morin says that this was a gift to her. There was never any discussion of the repayment of a loan. It only became a loan when she went back and reconciled with her husband.
Yes, ma'am.
On what date did you advance this money to Ms. Morin for the down
November
payment on a car?
25th.
Let me finish
Oh,
my
I'm
question.
sorry.
On what date did you advance money to Ms. Morin for the car?
On November 25th, 2005.
And on what date did you reconcile with your husband?
Sometimes in the end of January, ma'am. Middle of January, sorry.
Within 60 days.
Yes, ma'am.
Who has the car?
I do, ma'am.
What kind of car do you have?
It's a 2004 Mitsubishi Lancer.
Did you have a car before?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of a car did you have?
A 96 Honda Accord.
Why did you get a new one?
I was just looking to get another car, so it would help take some of the miles off of the other vehicle.
Now, who did you go to look for a car with?
With Jason Chris.
And you weren't engaged at the time.
No, ma'am.
You went to the dealership.
Yes, ma'am.
And you needed more money for a down payment.
Yes, ma'am.
Because you didn't have enough credit to
Yes, ma'am.
get a smaller down payment.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you call his mother?
No, ma'am.
Who called his mother?
Jason did.
So far, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What do you do for a living, Miss Chris?
I'm a waitress.
Who else lives in your house?
My husband, my daughter, my granddaughter, and my son.
What does your husband do for a living?
He just got a new job. He's drives parts for a car company.
Your daughter lives with you?
Yes, ma'am.
And granddaughter?
Yes, ma'am.
Who supports them?
Their husband. They had sold their home and they moved in with me until they buy a new home, which is in the process right now.
So, do you live in your own home?
I rent.
And how long have you worked as a waitress?
And the job I'm at now, I've been there for 25 years. I have been a waitress for 40 years.
Now, how much money did your son need when he called you?
Well, there was no talk of down payment on a car or anything. They wanted me to come down because I know the general manager to help her see if we can get a better deal for her car. And they told her the best they could do was $2,000 down. She said she didn't have it. They talked it over, asked me. I said, let me talk.
Who asked you?
They both did.
Go ahead.
And they said, let me talk it over with my husband. He said, whatever I decide is fine. I let her know I just paid this card off. I don't owe any money on it. I'll put the $2,000 down, but you have to make the payments. And when you sell your Honda, because she told me she was going to sell the Honda, then you pay the card off, interest and all. She said, that's fine. And in January 8th, she had given me a payment of $100. And that was the last time I seen her or any of my money.
What kind of paperwork do you have there?
Just the registration.
I'd like to see it.
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do, Miss Moore?
I'm a dispatcher, ma'am.
How long have you done that?
For a year.
Who is this?
My husband.
What does he do for a living?
He's a mechanic.
Does he work?
Yes, ma'am.
Full-time?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. You have children?
Yes, ma'am.
How many?
One and one on the way.
The child lives
Yes,
with you?
ma'am.
Good. And you have this car?
Yes, ma'am.
How much money did she give you for a down payment?
$2,000, ma'am.
You think she has a lot of money?
No, ma'am.
You paid her $100 back?
No, ma'am.
You paid her nothing back?
No, ma'am.
She says you paid her $100 back.
No, ma'am.
Well, you paid $100 on the card.
No, ma'am.
Didn't. Good.
Judge Judy, I have...
listen to me.
Oh, no. This is concerning the car. They're coming after me for money on the car. She hasn't made the payments. She's late. They're calling me at work.
You co-signed on a loan, too?
I co-signed on the car for her. My name is on the co-signed card. I was being too generous.
Miss Chris, unfortunately, I can't help you with regard to that. We have a limited jurisdiction here. You are not a very good judge of character.
No, ma'am.
Neither was your son. You're suing her for $2,800, which includes the engagement ring, which your son now has.
Yes.
The other $2,000 is for the down payment on the car. The $2,000 that you loaned to her, you're going to get back.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, you have your choice. Either I will cut an order, madam. Listen to me very carefully. Turning the car over to the plaintiff so that she can sell it and get her money back, or you return this money to her. That's your choice.
Yes, ma'am.
What's your choice?
I'll keep the car, ma'am.
I am going to keep the registration on your car until I am satisfied that you've made all the payments and that you have insurance on the car.
Yes, ma'am.
Otherwise, you don't get it back.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So you better get that fast.
Yes, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Alicia Guajardo is suing her sister, Isabel Guajardo, for the return of a TV and a loan to pay her rent. Isabel claims it's Alicia who owes her.
Your Honor, this is case number 83 on the calendar in the matter of Guajardo versus Guajardo. Parties have
Thank
been-
you.
You're welcome. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Have a seat.
What's your first name?
Alicia. Isabel.
You two are sisters.
Yes.
And according to your complaint, Alicia, your sister owes you some money.
Correct.
And she owes you some money from a small loan that you made to her. And she has some property, TV and electronics, that you
Correct.
claim she retained after you moved out. You moved into her house when you were down on your luck. Your sister took you in. She allowed you to remain in her house July, August, September, and October, about 4 months. And then there was a major falling out, and you claim she unceremoniously told you to leave, keeping your property. Your sister says that you owe her for rent, that you gave her the electronic equipment, which was a television set, because you had not paid rent as agreed. She is counterclaiming for the unpaid rent, and that's it. How many sisters are there?
There's 5 girls.
I gather from your complaint that you don't get along with your other sisters now.
No, I don't.
And you haven't for a while, is that right?
Right.
Is that because you have a problem?
I think that we all have problems.
You have
but-
particular problems?
Just we have a love-hate relationship.
Do you work?
Yes.
Who do you work for?
I work for a temporary agency, and I just finished school as a massage therapist.
Who are you living with now?
I live with a friend.
Do you have children?
I have a son.
How old?
13.
Does he live with you?
No, right now he is staying in Woodland with friends. We were homeless because my sister wouldn't take us in after I helped her pay her rent. So I had to take my son to a friend's house where he could be in school. And,
Are these your two sisters?
yes.
Two of your sisters? Mm-hmm. I have a feeling there's a lot more to this story, but I don't have time to hear it because it doesn't necessarily relate to this. The TV, tell me about it.
I had taken my TV to my sister's home.
When you moved in July.
Correct. And after we had a falling out because I was going to stay with my other sister, which she had asked me if she found a home, did I want to come with her? She got angry and she said I owed her money for back pay. I helped her take care of her children, cleaned her home. She told me since I owed her rent that she was keeping my TV.
Okay. And tell me about this alleged loan. Your sister said there was no loan. You never gave her any money. Tell me about that.
Okay. Anyways, my sister came to me and told me that she went to a casino where she had lost all her money, gambling, her rent money. She was in tears, and I told her I would try to help her. At that time, I filed my income tax, and I lent her $700. I told her I would help her even after I wasn't welcomed in her home a week or two before that. But, you know, I love my sister, and they always dog me. They always give me the short end of the stick, you know. I came back and helped her, even though I wasn't welcomed in her home.
All right. Your sister moved in July.
That's correct.
Was this the first time she had moved in with you?
No, she's lived with me on and off a lot. And if it wasn't her, it was her son. I've always had her son. I've always taken care of her child. And I agreed to let her come in because she just lost her job. She was getting ready to lose her apartment. She wouldn't go to work. I even offered her one of my vehicles to go to work. She wouldn't go to work. And as far as taking care of my children...
No. Just to answer my questions. I might ask you to respond to that part of what she says. She moved in July because she was about to become homeless. Was her son living with her at the time?
He was staying with me.
Had he already been with you?
Yes, I lived next door to my sister, so he was going back and forth from my house to her house. She never had him.
Oh, please.
Okay. What was the financial arrangement? When she moved in, she wasn't working.
That's correct. She was doing massages on the side. She was kicked out of school, so she had to work under somebody else's license, and she wouldn't even get up to go to that job, and she had gotten fired from the last person she was working with. So we had agreed that when she got back on her feet, she would pay me $500 a month. My sister was there.
I never agreed
Sylvia
to
was
that.
there.
Shh. I'm sorry.
Well, then let me deal with the rent part of your counterclaim. She never got back on her feet. If what your contract was with her was, when you start working and get back on your feet, you can pay me $500 a month rent, which is what you just told me.
Correct.
She never got on her feet.
Because she didn't want to.
Whatever.
Okay.
That's something that you knew. So she doesn't owe you any money for rent. Now, let's talk about the TV.
She told my sister, Sylvia, and she also told me too, to just go ahead and keep the TV as part of payment for staying there to go towards the money that she had owed me.
Okay. I buy that. If she didn't pay any rent all during the 4 months that she lived with you, not such a big deal to keep the television set. Now, let's talk about the $700 loan that she says she gave you. You have any proof that you gave her this loan?
I have my income tax. I wasn't able to get the receipt. I didn't have her sign anything. Lesson learned. But she asked me if she could borrow the money. I just cashed the check.
How much was the check for?
It was for $1,120.05. It was my income tax return.
And how much did you give her?
$700 in cash.
Okay. And you kept $400 for yourself?
Correct.
What did you do with it?
Well, I saved a little bit, and then we went gambling, and...
Who went gambling?
Her and I went to the casino that day.
Did you lose it?
So most of it, yeah.
I don't lose when I go to the casino. I have proof right here.
Okay.
I win all the time when I go.
That's why you had to borrow $700 to pay your rent.
No, I did not.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What appalls me is that people of the state of California give you money because you were in dire straits, and you take that money and go to a casino. That, madam, is outrageous.
And later today...
You have respect for yourself?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I don't know why.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Alicia Guajardo claims her sister, Isabel Guajardo, owes for the return of a TV and a loan. Isabella's countersuing, claiming Alicia never paid rent when she lived with her.
Now, my question to you, Alicia, is
Yes.
if you didn't pay rent for the 4 months that you lived with your sister and didn't pay for utilities, who bought the food in the house?
I did.
Both of us did, Your Honor.
From
did.
what money?
I was getting assistance at the time, and so
What
was
kind of
she,
assistance?
From the state of California.
How much were you receiving from the state of California?
It was like $130 in food stamps and.
Well, if you weren't working and if you weren't contributing regularly to the household for 4 months and all it cost you was $700 and a TV, doesn't sound like very much. Son was living there too?
Can I say something, please, Your Honor? I paid her back when we went to the casinos several times. I would hit a jackpot, and she's right there. And she even told me, you don't owe me anything after this, because we were even fair and square. And she said she gave me a vehicle to drive. She would take that vehicle, would say, oh, I need to go somewhere or whatever, and the car would just sit there. Well, whatever. Anyways, I paid her above and beyond for rent. She's even said that at the casinos. I can't even enjoy a jackpot when we go.
I want to tell you something. You know what offends me, Alicia?
I'm sorry.
Let me tell you what offends me.
Okay.
What offends me is that the people of the state of California give you money because you need money to survive. That's what you tell them. And you take that money and go to a casino.
No, Your Honor, that's not what I do.
Hey, Alicia, that's what you just told me. You said I went to the casino, I hit jackpots, I gave her money more than covered rent, and I asked you, how do you support yourself? Stop speaking.
Okay.
And you say, I got aid. And honestly, what appalls me is that the people of the state of California give you money because you were in dire straits, and you take that money and go to a casino. That, madam, is outrageous. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Your Honor.
Out.
Parties are
That's
excused. You may
just
step out.
words. Whatever. I've cleaned my life up. I'm off aid. I'm working.
Those income tax papers that she had was probably from 3 years ago because she hasn't worked in 2 years.
I didn't take that money for the state of California to go to the casino.
She wants me to continue taking care of her as I always have.
I don't abuse the system.
She's just always trying to get someone to take care of her, and I think she came here for attention.
My sister is a very hateful, miserable person.
We just got to take it day by day, and hopefully all this can get resolved and we get back to normal.
I just pray for her. I love her anyways.
I don't have a future with her. As far as I'm concerned, she's no longer my sister.
I want her out of my life. You know, that's sad to say. That is my sister.
I don't have a sister.
Maybe we can go to counseling. Maybe I should have asked for her to rule us to go to counseling.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Crow versus Maupins, step forward, please.
21-year-old April Crow is suing her ex-boyfriend, 22-year-old Omari Maupins, for a down payment on a Jeep, as well as other payments she made on his behalf.
Miss Crow, it is your claim that the defendant, who was your boyfriend for a period of time, owes you some money.
Yes, ma'am.
Claimed that you loaned him the down payment for a car. He was supposed to make the payments.
Yes, ma'am.
You broke up. You made some payments yourself, then you had the car repossessed because you could no longer make the payments.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Maupin says you took back the car. It's your problem. So, let's see if he's right.
Okay.
Now, when did you purchase this car, Mr. Maupins?
I believe it was November.
November
05.
2005.
Yes.
And how much money did Miss Crow give you?
It was about between $1,500 and $1,800
You mean for the down payment?
for the down payment. Yes, ma'am.
When were you supposed to pay her back?
Monthly.
Did you make any payments?
Yes, ma'am. I did.
How many did you make?
I don't know. We were working together, also dating. So as they came in, I just made payments to her.
Made payments to her or to the loan company where you had the car from?
To her.
How much did you give her?
As much as I could at the time. It was a weird situation because right as the car was bought, I lost my job and was
Okay, so
not able
in
to make the
November,
payments.
you bought the car,
Yes, ma'am.
and then you lost your job.
Yes.
When did the two of you break up?
Around the end of December, close to January,
So you had the car for a month.
for a month, and I made the first payment on that car.
Okay. What date did you break up?
I don't remember the exact date. It was around the end of December. It was before Christmas.
When did you take the car back?
The car stayed at his house until January 18th of 2006. At that time, he got kicked out of the place where he was staying, and he had nowhere to store the vehicle. He and I were on speaking terms. We were still getting along. We were still dating. We had broke up for a period of time, and then we started dating again. He parked the car at my house with his stuff inside the car. The reason the car was parked at my house is because there was no insurance on it, because Mr. Moppins would not put insurance on it.
You co-signed on this loan?
I co-signed on the car. The loan is only in my name.
How long had you known him before you did this stupid thing?
We've known each other for about 4 years now.
Well, how long were you dating?
8 months.
We were only dating 2 months before the buying of the car occurred.
Why in the world would you let her put a loan for a car for you in her name?
She offered it. You know, she came to me, she asked me why I was trying to, you know, get another job so bad. I told her I was trying to save up to get a car. She came to me and she said, well, you know, I can go to a loan place tomorrow and, you know, get you a down payment on the car. Of course, I accepted.
Why?
Because it made my life easier having a car to get around, you know, to go to work and stuff, basically.
Ugh. You have respect for yourself?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I don't know why. Shh. I don't know why. You just stuck her with a big bill.
I don't look at it that way.
Well, how do you look
When
at it, Mr. Moppins?
Well, when we were together, I was helping her make the payment.
I don't, listen. You had the car 4 weeks. 4 weeks. And you lost your job probably because of some stupid thing that you did.
The stupid thing occurred because of her.
She did a stupid thing, you lost your job. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, ma'am.
I didn't even want to know.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The car is now on my credit with the repossession.
Listen, you should have been smarter.
I agree.
You should have been smarter.
I agree.
What do you want me to do? The guy's a big baby.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. April Crow claims ex-boyfriend Omari Maupins owes for the down payment as well as missed payments on a Jeep. Omari says April repossessed the vehicle.
Now, 4 weeks you had the car, and she stuck with the bill, about $4,000.
Well, the way I look at it is I made the first payment.
Did you have insurance?
No, I didn't have insurance yet. It was
Well,
still
you
under
can't
the
have a
first.
car without insurance, sir.
It was still under the first 30 days. There was insurance on the car on the first 30 days of me having the car because I hadn't got a tag on it yet.
Who paid for insurance?
It went on the insurance that was with my ex-girlfriend because both our names are on her insurance.
The answer is you didn't pay for insurance on your car, right?
I did pay for insurance on the car. I mean, I only had it a month. When she came and took the car back in January,
Did she come and take the car back, Mr. Maupins, or did you park it in front of her house?
No, she came and took the car back. The agreement was when I couldn't make the payment the next month because I lost my job.
What do you mean you couldn't get, shh, just a minute. What do you mean you couldn't make the payment?
Because she was drunk at a party. I could not make it to work the next day. I did everything but put my hands on her to get her to leave that party, and she wouldn't want to go. So it made me stay up all night. I couldn't make it to work the next day, and I got fired.
Don't you feel sorry for him? Don't you feel sorry? What?
I just really thought he had a good excuse somewhere in there. Somewhere.
So I made the first payment on the car.
When you couldn't make the second payment, what happened?
The agreement was when I couldn't make the payment, she was taking the car back. She even tried to sell the car to my roommates. They didn't want to take it because she's trying to get over on them, making them pay the loan payment on top of paying for the car. They didn't want to take the car. So she came to my house, told me to empty out the car. I emptied out the car. She took the keys, the paper, and took the car to her house. I did not drive the car and park it at her house. She took the car.
You didn't make the car payment. Were you at home when she came and took the car?
Yes.
What time of the day?
Probably like 4 o'clock, 2 o'clock, right now.
What were you doing home at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon? Why weren't you out collecting cans? I'm serious with you. Why weren't you home collecting cans? Doing something to earn some money to take care of this responsibility.
Oh, I had been looking for jobs. I've been looking for jobs very, very adamantly.
If you're looking for a job, and if you can't find a job, go collect cans.
I don't think cans would have got me to a car payment that quick, but...
How do you know? You got nothing else to do. You certainly make more than sitting home watching TV.
Like I said, I was looking for a job. And
Not at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you weren't.
True. That's only because she called me and told me she was picking up the car. So I had to make sure I was there so she could get the car, make sure the car was cleaned out.
How old are you?
22.
How long have you been living on your own?
Since I was like 17.
You working now?
Yes, ma'am.
Where?
At a cheerleading gym. I'm a coach, cheerleading coach.
You're a cheerleading coach?
Yes, ma'am.
What particular expertise do you have to be a cheerleading coach?
Tumbling, stunning, cheering, teaching girls how to tumble and do stunts, and coordinating the routine.
You make a living at this?
Yes, ma'am.
How much? Don't look over there. Look over here.
I'm sorry. I get paid different for the classes. If I do a class, it's $15 an hour. Privates are $20. And when I coach my squads, it's $22 a person.
How much did you earn last week?
About $600.
Week before?
About the same.
And how long have you been doing this, sir?
For about a month and a half.
What'd you do before that?
I worked with her at the restaurant.
Until when?
Sometime in March.
Well, why didn't you do something with the car, sir?
She never offered to give me the car back.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Have you been cheated? Go to judgejudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
The amount financed was $2,090?
$2,700.
Well, that's the total number of payments. How much did you pay to settle it?
Now there's a balance of I think it's $2109.
That's not the original amount of the loan.
What was the original amount of the loan?
It was like $1,800 with the interest and all came out to be $2,000.
That's what I got here, $2,090. Now, what else?
We bought the car in October. It was actually October 10th. He did make the first payment, except for he was minus $10. I had to give him $10.
I don't care.
The car did not come to my house until January when he got kicked out. I have the U-Haul receipt where I paid for a U-Haul.
Listen to me. How much did you have to pay on the car once the car was sold?
I've paid $1,600 worth of payments. The car is now on my credit with a repossession because I cannot afford it. I already have a vehicle.
Listen, you should have been smarter.
I agree.
You should have been smarter.
I agree.
What do you want me to do? You know, the guy's a big baby. Guy makes a living teaching cheerleaders. What do you expect? Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $3,600. That's all. Step out.
Please are excused. You may step out.
Kathy Jesse is suing psychic Leon Legant for loans to take spiritual vacations. Kathy claims Leon has yet to pay the money back.
All rise. Quiet, please. Your Honor's case number 21 on the calendar in the matter of Jesse versus Legant. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat.
According to what I read in the complaint several years ago, you knew Mr. Legant, who was a psychic reader?
Yes, Your Honor.
And he owns a psychic school?
Correct.
How long had you known him?
I first met him in 1998.
How?
I saw an advertisement of his in a newspaper.
And have you been using him for readings since?
Counseling, yes.
What particular training do you have?
Clairvoyant training of a 1-year intensive, 3 years of teacher's training. I have over 6 years of training. I also have my certificates if you'd like to see those.
In any event, you wanted to take a trip. Mr. Legant was interested in going. We discussed it. He didn't have the money. According to you, you loaned him the money to go, and the understanding was that he would pay you back either in cash or readings.
True.
He went on the trip. For a while, he did, in fact, pay you back by doing readings. Somebody would keep a record of, I assume, of how much each reading was, and you would check off how much was left on the debt. At some point, he missed a scheduled appointment.
Well, actually, Your Honor, he was making payments also. There was no set schedule for our appointments. It was whenever we decided.
So he was paying in cash as well?
Actually, yes. That was mostly the agreement.
In check and or cash?
He would deposit it directly into my account, and sometimes he paid in cash, and sometimes he wrote a check. I have the deposit slips.
I'd like to see them.
Sure.
You mean he had your bank account number?
Well, yes.
Did you have a social relationship with him?
Well, it wasn't very friendly in terms of a social relationship. I mean, we knew each other professionally, and I trusted him as a teacher and my mentor.
All right, so I see you made some payments to her.
That's correct.
So you consider this a loan?
No.
Well, what was it for?
It was a donation.
No. What was the money that you paid her?
That was the interest. Initially, this is the 3rd trip I've been on with Miss Jessie.
We're talking about only this one, sir.
Okay. So in this case, Miss Jessie wanted me to go on a 2nd trip to the Philippines. I clearly explained to her that that was not something I could afford. So she decided to make a donation to the school so that the school could sponsor my trip. In exchange for that donation, she was to receive hours of readings. The payment she received was when she asked for me to cover the interest on her visa. And I agreed to do that. I was grateful for the donation. I was grateful for the donation. I have the donation right here. I have the check.
I see it clear.
It says donation with a big smiley face.
Were these paid out of a private account or the school account?
It was paid out of the school's account.
So all these checks were school checks?
Mm-hmm.
None yours?
Right.
You're not very clairvoyant, sir. Show this to the defendant, please. That's not the school's account, is it?
Oh, no. I may have used my own account to make a check payment. That's entirely possible.
What?
You didn't see that one coming, did
What?
you?
You didn't see that one coming at all? Show him this one. Your account or the school's account?
That's my account.
One more. Uno más on this page.
Also my account. Your Honor, the...
Stop! I'm not going to read your account number, sir, but it also appears that when cash was deposited directly into her account, it was deposited directly into her account with the same numbers on the accounts that were on these checks.
Can I see that?
Yes, certainly. Here you go.
Huh, that's interesting. Because when I called the bank to get copies of this so that I would know in preparation for you, they explained to me there was no way to trace that information.
Well, you do see what I'm looking at, don't you?
I do see what you're looking at. And the agreement I had with her was to pay the interest on her card.
All I'm asking you is whether the cash and the checks that she ascribes to this loan came out of the school's account or out of your personal account.
Right.
So you would be saying now that it came out of your personal account.
Obviously.
Obviously.
I believe there were others that were taken from the school's
I'm
account.
looking to see yours.
And
you have
like
any
I
proof?
said, the bank said
Listen,
they couldn't
no.
trace this
No,
information.
listen to me, sir. Listen to me. Show me any checks that you have from the school to pay her.
I don't have this.
I do, however, see some checks, sir, that just say Bank of America, and it looks like they're from a different account.
That's right.
So sometimes you paid out of your personal account, and sometimes you paid out of the school account. You getting my drift, sir?
Not fully.
Well, when you have a business and you start commingling money as to what is a business expense and what is not, you have a serious problem. And clearly, in looking over this paperwork, it appears to me as if you were commingling what you considered a business expense with a private debt. The IRS doesn't like that. You should know that.
I did what I could to make sure she received her interest payments in a timely manner.
Don't you make a living from this company?
Yes, I do.
Then you should have paid her. Not commingled funds. That's a very bad thing, Mr. LeGrant. With commingled funds, the IRS is going to come and get you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I left him a voicemail saying that, I think that this was unfair, and at which point he sent me an email.
I would like to see the copy
Sure.
of the email that you sent to her.
I was very angry.
And later today,
I hit the throttle, and the whole transom with the motors mounted to almost broke right off the boat. And the gas tank came completely disconnected and spilled gas all over the floor of the boat.
Kathy Jesse claims psychic Leon Legant borrowed money from her and never paid it back. Leon says the loan was repaid with free psychic readings. He is countersuing for slander.
Can you tell me what happened that precipitated this lawsuit?
He had made his last payment in November, and in December he promised me a payment on December 20th. And I was counting on that, and it was Christmas time, and I didn't get the payment. And I had an appointment with him scheduled for the 22nd, which I was going to discuss the matter with him, and then he didn't show up for the appointment and didn't let me know.
Does he come to your house, or do you go to
No,
his
it's a
school?
telephone. It's a telephone.
It's a telephone?
Yes, we hardly ever see each other in person. And so I left him a voicemail saying that, you know, I think that this was unfair and I should be treated better. And at which point he sent me an email saying that he really thought that was the most mean, vicious thing anybody had ever said to him. And he really, literally never talked to me again.
What did she say on the voicemail?
She was incredibly ugly. I never finished both voicemails because it was too irate and too mean, too vicious, attacking everything she could think of and everything she knew about me. Basically, what happened in the beginning of December, I was still working with her and giving her readings. She explained to me that she lost her job, she was afraid she was going to lose the mortgage on her house, that she was in an incredibly strapped financial position. She began asking me if I could borrow money from my aunt to pay this balance off, and I explained to her that the agreement was an exchange of readings. This was not
Well,
a
that's
loan.
not true, sir. That's not true, because there were payments made both out of the school's account and out of your personal account.
That was
to her.
interest.
That's what you say. That's not what I find. Keep going.
So she was explaining all of this to me. I explained to her that this was not the agreement, this was not what I was going to do. She pressured me for a number of weeks. She did ask me to make a payment on the 20th in December because 25th was a Sunday and also Christmas. I explained to her that I get paid on a certain date, it takes a number of days to clear the bank. I'll do the best I can to try to do that, but that may not happen. And that went in one ear, right out the other.
All right, good. Did you make a payment in January?
I did not make a payment in December.
Did you make a payment in January,
or
is my
January,
question.
or since.
Right. Why not?
Because she threatened to sue me.
She didn't sue you in January, did she?
No, she filed, actually on January 20th, I was on the way to the bank because she had left these voicemails. I wasn't sure how I was supposed to handle this situation, and I told her that I would get back to her in January.
Well, so you were sort of jerking her around.
No.
Because you didn't pay the amount in December, because you said you get paid on a certain day, and you don't know whether it'll clear and whatever. All right, so you don't pay a December 20th, you don't pay a December 23rd. There's December 27th, December 28th, December 29th, December 30th, December 31st. She doesn't hear from you until January 20th?
No, she received an email from me explaining that I felt her messages were incredibly mean and
Well,
that
show me
I
the
would...
You have the email? I would like to see
Yeah,
the copy
sure.
of the email that you sent to her.
I was very angry.
People who owe money usually are angry. Okay, so they were the meanest, cruelest, etc. Her two voice messages, and you choose to cut her off and not have anything to do with her until the holidays are over in December, because you don't want to be bothered during the holidays
Because
with
my
any
mom
bad
was in a serious
with any bad
accident.
vibrations. And I'll let you know how I plan to handle the future in January. Well, what'd you do at the beginning of January, sir? The holidays are over.
Yeah, I was thinking about how to handle the situation. I wasn't sure how to do that. The 20th was coming by in January. I decided
what,
to
the
make
20th?
it the 20th of January.
Well, so you were thinking between January 2nd and January 20th.
That's right.
Let me hear your counterclaim, Mr. LeGrand.
After Miss Jessie complained about this December incident, she did request communication from me. I did say that I would communicate with her in January about the situation. Before I had a chance to do that, she went to my website. She scoured through all of the emails, addresses, everything she could get, and began emailing everybody from clients, students, about the situation. Very, very crazy emails.
Well, show me.
Sure. Here's one she sent to the travel agent. I'll give you all of them. And also, as far as missed appointments, that has happened in the past.
I'm not interested in that. All she does is talk to whoever she talks to about the fact that you owe her money.
These are my students
Who
that
cares?
she ripped off my website.
Who cares? Shouldn't have had them on your
It
website
has
feed
none
one.
of their business.
Listen to me. She's entitled to do that. She doesn't slander you, sir. She says that you have an honest dispute with her. She believes you owe her money, and you are not paying her the money that you owe her. She doesn't say anything scandalous about you. You may not like it, but she doesn't say anything that's actionable. Can you please explain to me how a school professing to be spiritual and ethical can attempt to steal this money loaned in good faith? That's the way she feels.
Yeah, it wasn't a loan.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you something, sir. I am the final arbiter of that, and I'm telling you that it was a loan. It was a loan because you repaid it. And you not only repaid it, you repaid it, some of it out of your funds and some of it out of school funds, which you can't do.
That's not correct.
Listen. Some of the people that you deal with, Mr. LeGrand, may revere you as being some sort of spiritual leader. I guarantee you, I'm not one of those people, all right? I'm telling you, you went on a trip, you slept, you ate, you took a plane, not the spirits, your body took the plane to the Philippines and had a nice trip. Pay for it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,697. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I missed an appointment.
I think that he has some talent,
He decided to use that as an excuse to refuse readings and demand money.
but that he needs to work a little bit more on his character.
Oh, I want to have nothing to do with her.
I think he's his own worst enemy, and he's on a self-destructive course.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Schumacher versus Graham. Step forward, please.
Kristen Schumacher is suing family friend, 25-year-old Evan Graham, for the balance on a boat. Evan says Karen sold him a piece of junk.
Miss Schumacher, you sold the defendant a boat.
I did.
Defendant was somebody that you knew?
Yes.
And you had an arrangement. He gave you a deposit, and he took possession of the boat. He was supposed to pay you the balance in a week or so. He never paid you the balance. You want the balance on the boat.
Correct.
And Mr. Graham says that he relied on your friendship, that this was a good boat. It ended up being a lemon, and you ripped him off, and he's not paying anymore.
Yes.
How old are you, sir?
23.
You work?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I own my own plumbing company.
Very good. So you're in business?
Yes.
You deal with contracts, is that right?
Yes.
When did you buy the boat, sir?
It would have been the end of August.
Give me the date.
August 18th.
And that's when you agreed on a price. Is that right?
Correct.
Yes.
What was the price you agreed on, Mr. Graham?
$3,500.
So there was an offer to sell the boat and an acceptance of the price, correct?
Correct.
Was this a verbal contract?
Yes.
And you gave her a deposit?
Of $800.
And you took possession of the boat?
Correct.
And then what happened, Mr. Graham?
I bring it out to the lake to test drive it, and I wouldn't run.
Why didn't you make an arrangement with Miss Schumacher for a test drive of the boat before you bought it?
Because she was a family friend, so if there was any problems, we could work it out.
Who said that?
It's an assumption.
What did
So,
you do with the boat?
I bring it to a mechanic, spent $1,200.
Just a second. Did you take it out on the 18th? Or did you take it out later?
It might have been the 19th, I don't remember.
Was it the 18th or the 19th?
He purchased it on the 18th. I tabbed and licensed it for him the morning of the 19th. Then he took it from the property about 10 a.m. in the morning, I believe.
On the 19th?
On the 19th.
When did he call and tell you he was having trouble with the boat?
On the 20th.
Okay. And you took it to your mechanic, you put in $1,200.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And you were satisfied that it was done?
Yes.
So you took it back to the water when?
It would have been roughly about a week after I purchased it by the time he was done the work.
So the 27th?
Yeah, roughly. So I bring it back out, and now with it running correctly, I hit the throttle, and the whole transom with the motors mounted to almost broke right off the boat.
Mm-hmm.
And the gas tank came completely disconnected and spilled gas all over the floor of the boat.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in the middle of the lake with a boat full of gas, and the transom's completely cracked.
When was the last time, Mr. Graham, that you drove this boat?
Early September.
No, I'm talking about before you purchased it.
I've never drove the boat in my life before I purchased it.
You purchased the boat. You waited until the boat was titled in your name till the next day. Then you came and got it. You had trouble with it. You buy a used boat. That sometimes happens. You took it to your mechanic. Your mechanic had the boat for an entire week. And I'm not prepared to say that whatever he did to the boat had no causal connection to what the trouble was that you ultimately had with the boat. I don't know, quite frankly. All I know is that you and Ms. Schumacher had a contract, and you have to abide by the terms of that contract. Do you understand?
Not completely, no.
Well, I tried to explain it to you in the most simplistic terms I can. Would you like me to use monosyllables?
No, maybe you could explain the part about if you have a contract and she says it runs good and it's structurally sound and it's not. Doesn't that void a contract?
You have a writing that says that she is selling this boat in good running order, no mechanical problems, and you're buying the boat contingent upon that? Do you have that?
No, it was a verbal contract.
Your verbal contract is the simplistic one, Mr. Graham, because if I were to ask her whether she tells me that she guaranteed to you when you purchased that boat that she said it was structurally sound and mechanically sound, what do you think she's going to tell me?
Your Honor, I did tell him the boat was running well.
You told him it was running well. The last time you rode the boat was when?
The summer before, which would have been the end of August, last week in August.
So you hadn't driven in it.
That's right.
For 1 year.
Right. It was parked for the winter because it's a small ski boat and you don't take it out in the winter.
The last time you rode the boat, was it running well?
Ran fine.
Did you know the boat had been sitting there for a year?
Yes.
Out of the water?
Yes.
Mr. Graham, you owe her the money. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,200. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you.
Harry Hauser is suing his former friend, 20-year-old Kyle Cooper, for vandalizing his home and punching him in the face during a party.
Yeah, this is case number 50 on the calendar in the matter of Hauser versus Cooper. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Hauser, it is your claim that the defendant, who was a guest in your home, there was a party going on in your house, first damaged the house by putting his fist through the wall, and when he was confronted over the damage, he assaulted you. You want the repairs to the house compensated, and also you want to be compensated for the assault and your lost wages. Mr. Cooper says he caused no damage to your house, that you were the one who initiated the altercation as he was attempting to leave the house, and in addition, Mr. Cooper says that you were providing underage people with alcohol in the house. That's your defense.
Yes.
How old are you?
20.
And you?
I'm 36, Judge.
Who invited you to the house?
Jerry did.
Is that you? Is he a friend of yours?
I met him through my sister.
How does she know him?
She knew a girl that lived there with him from school.
You go to college?
No.
High school?
No, I dropped out.
Well, what do you do with yourself?
I work full-time at True Manufacturing.
Were there other young men in their 20s at the house?
Yes, ma'am.
How many?
At least 7, 8 that I brought over there.
What did you bring over all these guys for?
He was having a party, said we'd come over, drink, bought us alcohol.
Did he tell you to bring friends?
He always lets us too.
So this isn't the first time you were there?
No, ma'am.
How many times have you been there?
I've been there at least 10, 12 times.
Okay, so he has big parties. Mr. Hauser, you're a party guy.
I wouldn't claim that, Judge, but I like to have fun.
Okay. Tell me what happened, Mr. Hauser.
Okay, on the night of January 21st of 2006, it was probably, they started arriving at 8 p.m., but I'm not claiming them as my friends. They know a Lauren.
I don't care whether they're your friends or not. They've been to your home 10 times, according to him, for parties. So they were not strangers to your house, nor did they come uninvited. Just tell me what happened on the 21st. They arrived and get to the point where they were leaving.
Okay. I was pretty much in my room. Sometimes I was out there. Usually I stay in my room. I don't like, associate with the people. So around 11 p.m., it sounded like everybody left. My door was open in my room, and I heard a bang sound. I look at my room, and I see Mr. Cooper just punching holes in the wall repeatedly. And I said, hey. He runs out the front door, and I run after him, and we get out to the edge of the driveway, and I'm like, man, what's your deal? Why are you knocking holes in my wall? I said earlier that night when I went out there, I was like, I don't want to see no more damage to my place. You know, you guys come over. It was not our place. We're renting it. Me and some other roommates were renting it. And I said, we're tired of this. And so I guess that wasn't enough for him to beat holes in the wall, so he hit me in the nose, and 2 or 3 of his friends was punched me in the back of the head and the back. They got me on the ground to where I guess it wasn't enough, so they kept kicking me.
Well, how many of them were around you?
Ma'am, I was being hit by, I think, 2 or 3 guys.
Had you been drinking that night, Mr. Hauser?
I had a couple of beers, yep. And that's the honest truth, but I wasn't drunk.
All right, sir, let me hear your version of these events.
All right, my sister drove Jerry up to the store to get us a gallon of vodka that night. We went over to his house, started drinking. Around 11:30, everybody got ready to leave. He was in the kitchen picking up trash, beer cans, whatever was thrown around in his kitchen, everything. He comes running outside, asking who punched a hole in the wall. Runs up to me, pushes me. I told him I'd not do it. Pushed me again, said he's gonna beat my. So I started swinging on him.
Were you there?
Yes.
Stand up. Last name is Cooper?
Mm-hmm.
How old are you?
19.
You allowed to drink?
No.
What were you doing drinking in the house?
Pretty much everyone just went over there. We went over there like weekends, during the week, like anytime we wanted to, and we brought whoever we wanted to. So it was just a house that you could just go and drink at wherever you wanted. So we went over there and drank all the time.
Great. That's really smart. Did you drop out of school too?
No, I'm a full-time student in college.
Who pays for your college?
Me and my parents do.
They must be really proud. So, Ms. Cooper, tell me what you witnessed.
Jerry was in the kitchen. I thought he was like doing dishes, just picking the kitchen up. And then we all walked outside because we were getting ready to leave. And
who punched holes in the wall?
No one punched holes in the wall. There was holes in the wall from the very first times that we went over there. And then we were all walking out of the house, and he had a girlfriend at the time, and someone was asking her, who's riding home with you? And she goes, Kyle. And I don't know if Jerry thought that someone was saying Kyle punched the holes in the wall because he was asking that question at the same time. And then he went up to Kyle, and he pushed Kyle once. Kyle was like, what are you doing?
How did he push him?
Well,
turn around and show me how he pushed him, Miss Cooper.
Well, Kyle...
Turn around and show me.
Is walking towards his car, going that way, and Jerry's come up behind him, and he goes, Kyle, why'd you punch the holes in my wall? And Kyle goes, I didn't. And then he pushed Kyle.
Show me.
Just like that, like pushed him backwards.
Yeah.
And then Kyle goes, what are you doing? I didn't punch no holes in your wall. And then he pushed him like that the same way again, and then Kyle just like started punching him back.
Now, when Kyle started punching him, where were the other people who were leaving?
We were already walking towards the cars.
But somebody else started punching and kicking Mr. Hauser. Who was that?
There was no one else hitting him except for Kyle.
So Kyle was doing all the hitting?
Yeah.
And Kyle was doing all the kicking?
Well, I mean, I don't know if he was fighting back or what.
Well, he was on the ground at some point.
Yeah.
And while he was on the ground, where was Kyle?
I was already towards the car. They were like wrestling around though. So, I mean, I know that he was on the ground.
But he was by himself. There were no other people around him.
No, it was just those two.
What did your brother have an outstanding warrant for?
I didn't know he did.
Well, he knows he did, right?
I don't have a warrant out.
Did you?
Did I? Yeah.
What was the outstanding warrant for?
Well, a question about Jerry's house.
Were you arrested?
Yeah.
Yeah, what were you arrested for?
Wanting for questioning.
Do you have an outstanding warrant from St. Charles County?
Yeah.
For what?
Drugs.
Well, I mean, why do I have to ask you these questions? Do you think that I'm asking you these questions when I don't have some indication what it was about?
Yeah.
Stand up on your own 2 feet. So you were taken into custody at some point and arrested. You were arrested on an outstanding warrant and for questioning, I assume.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that have been easier for you to say to me right from the beginning?
Yes, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't believe that you saw Mr. Cooper putting holes in your wall.
Oh, yes, I did.
Did you?
I heard it. I looked out my door, and there he was.
And later today,
You got annoyed with him, so you said, I'm going to take this money, I'm going to use it for myself, and then I'm going to have the ticket switched in his name. They're going to issue a warrant for his arrest. He's going to have to pay it again. That's outrageous.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jerry Hauser claims former friend Kyle Cooper punched holes into his wall during a party. Jerry also claims Kyle and his friends beat him up.
Now, what happened with the arrest warrant on the possession of a controlled substance?
It's going to court right now. I got a continuance.
And what about the assault charge?
Dismissed.
When?
Last Saturday.
On what basis?
Coming here. I wanted to come here and...
No, I don't handle criminal cases. The assault is a criminal case. What happened to the criminal case? Do you know?
It says it wasn't pursued, Judge.
Why?
We agreed to dismiss it.
Wit
was on the basis, Your Honor, of...
Make sure I get a correct answer.
It was on the basis of coming to this court...
No. This court has nothing to do with a criminal charge. Tell me why, sir, you chose to not pursue this vicious assault against this young man.
Judge, the honest truth is we had to dismiss the charges to take it to another court.
To take it to what other court?
Just civil.
Just to do it civilly. Oh,
right.
I see. So you did not want to see the right person punished for that. You just wanted money. Is that what you're telling me? Is that what you're telling me, Mr.
Yes,
Hauser?
ma'am.
But what good does that do, Mr. Hauser? What kind of a lesson does that display to this young man?
I guess I should feel petty, but I don't.
You should feel petty because, A, I don't believe that you saw Mr. Cooper putting holes in your wall.
Oh, yes, I did.
When? That night?
Around 11 o'clock.
Did you?
I heard it. I looked out my door, and there he was.
How many holes did he put in the wall?
I think he hit it 5 times where I said, hey.
No. Listen to me. How many holes did he put in the wall?
Here you go, ma'am. Here's a picture of the wall.
Oh, what you're telling me is he didn't make a hole in the wall, he got the paint chipped off the wall. Is that right? There's not a hole there.
No, that's a big hole.
That doesn't go through. That doesn't go through. The paint
It goes
is all
all the way
chipped.
through the drywall, ma'am.
What's on top of the drywall?
Well, there's paint, but he punched...
That's what I'm talking about. There's paint. So he chipped off all the paint.
No, ma'am, that goes all the way through the drywall.
Are we understanding each other, or am I missing something?
Looks like paint is chipped to me.
Now, when you went outside, Mr. Hauser, did you put your hands on Mr. Cooper?
Didn't touch him.
You think he was drunk?
Oh, he was intoxicated. I think she's probably coked up, too, for all I know.
You are 16 years his senior. What are you doing letting 20-year-old kids come to your house to drink? Not on one occasion, but on many occasions. What are you doing allowing these kids to come to your house?
Okay, Judge, it wasn't my house. It was 4 of us were renting this house. I was only one roommate.
What were you doing allowing him in your house, her in your house, drinking?
What could I do, call the cops every time?
Absolutely! When they started to arrive, sir, on the 21st of January, 2006, did you call the police?
No.
Did you see them drinking?
Yes.
Why didn't you call the police if you didn't want them
Because
there?
they were guests of other friends.
They can't commit a crime in your house, sir.
Okay.
And if he got drunk, this 20-year-old idiot, an idiot who you also knew was a drug abuser, you thought he was all coked up in addition to drinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
You wanted a reasonable response to him after you saw him, according to you. Now, I don't see a hole in the wall, but according to you, somebody taking their bare fist and punching a hole, according to you, in the wall 5 times. That's what you saw.
Correct.
So you were expecting a reasoned response after you approached him outside?
Well, yeah, when I saw him do it, I was angry. I went out there earlier that night and I even said, you know, you guys are guests in our home, which I never claimed any of these as my friends. I can't believe it says my friends.
I don't care whether you're friends or not. They were guests of yours in your home. You permitted them to be there. And you permitted alcohol to be served. Did you ever go to buy alcohol that
Nope.
night?
I won't,
Yes, he did.
no, I won't
He
buy
bought it on my debit card
No.
that night that it happened.
Where did he buy it?
At Shop and Save off Harvester.
What did you buy?
A gallon of Popov. It's vodka.
Yeah, all right. They got plenty of friends.
Just a second. I believe her. I believe her that you took her and her friend over to get some alcohol. Your house got trashed. That's your problem. Your nose got busted. That's your problem. You allow babies to drink in your house and you furnish them alcohol. If they left your house and they killed somebody in a car, it would be your responsibility. There's a reason that the government says children can't be trusted to consume alcohol. There's a reason. Because of jerks like him and her. And if they destroyed your house, and this isn't the first time that they were there, and if you didn't like it, you should have made sure that they didn't come back. You don't take them to get alcohol and then complain later that because he was probably coked up and drunk that he assaulted you. That's too bad. And if you think that you had a case, and if you think that you were in the right, you should not have withdrawn the case in order to come here and try to get some money. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Half the time we come home, them idiots would be in there anyway, partying.
Him buying us alcohol, coming outside, saying he'll be my... It's 36, I'm 20 years old.
It just wasn't my place. She didn't understand that.
I think it wouldn't have been that wrong if there was no alcohol involved.
Took advantage of him. I liked it though, it's fun.
People get a little bit crazier than they normally would when you drink alcohol.
And now the next case.
All parties in a matter of Lovelace versus Smith. Step forward.
21-year-old Edward Lovelace is suing his ex-girlfriend, 20-year-old Nicole Smith, and her mother, Patty, for misappropriating money meant to pay a traffic ticket.
Miss Smith, is this your daughter?
Yes, it is.
Okay. This gentleman was your daughter's boyfriend for a while.
Yes, he was.
He lived in your house?
Yes, he did.
When did he live in your house?
From March 9th, 2005 until December 2005.
Was he working at the time?
Not when he first moved in, he wasn't.
When
About
did he-
first 2 months, he was not working.
But he got a job.
Yes, but didn't pay rent except for 3 months.
When did he pay rent?
He paid $150 towards rent in June or July.
When next?
Before I left truck driving was in September. I'd say another $150 about August.
In August, and then?
And then he paid $300.
When?
For December.
December what?
15th.
When did he move out?
right before Christmas.
When next?
And then the $400 check, right when he moved out.
When?
About the 17th, I guess, of December.
So he gave you a check for $300 on December 15th, and he gave you another check, $400.
Right.
2 days later.
Yes.
All right, good. This is what the case is about, Mr. Lovelace. According to your complaint, you were driving a truck that belonged to your girlfriend, or a van that, don't speak unless I ask you a question, that was still in her uncle's name, but her uncle had given it to your girlfriend.
Yes.
You were driving.
Yes.
And you ran a red light.
Mm-hmm.
They caught you on the camera.
Yes.
And you got a ticket.
Mm-hmm.
Ticket was $330?
Yes.
When did you get the ticket?
Oh, I believe it was the beginning of September.
And there was some problem because since the truck was in the uncle's name, arrangements had to be made to get the ticket in your name so that you could pay the ticket. It is your claim that you gave the defendants $400 to pay that ticket and whatever other miscellaneous expenses
They needed
there
cigarettes.
were.
Neither of them were working.
And they did not pay the ticket.
No, they didn't. They switched the ticket into my name.
When did they do that?
I'm not sure the date.
When did you do that?
It was about 2 months after he moved out.
So in February, you had tickets switched to his name.
Because there was...
Shut, don't! I'm not speaking to you.
Okay.
There was going to be a bench warrant.
I'm just asking you whether or not you switched the ticket into his name. 2 months later. Uncross your hands.
I cover my belly.
When were you notified that there was going to be a bench warrant for your uncle?
I was told by the plaintiff.
By the plaintiff?
That's not true, Your Honor.
Shh. When you're lying, you always make a mistake. Let me find the mistake. Okay? Because their story doesn't make sense to me. Their story of this $400 gift 2 days after you paid $300 in rent doesn't make sense to me.
He was moving out with no notice.
So what? He doesn't have to give you any notice. According to you, he lived there for 9 months and hardly paid you any rent. So you weren't relying on his money. He doesn't have to give you any notice. The reason he gave you the $400 was to pay this ticket, not rent. He had already given you $300 in rent, and the problem was you got annoyed with him for moving out. So you said, well, listen, I'm going to take this money, I'm going to use it for myself, and then I'm going to have the ticket switched in his name. They're going to issue a warrant for his arrest. He's going to have to pay it again. That's outrageous. Who broke up with whom?
I broke up with her, Your Honor.
Right. How did I know that? And according to you, he left you with some credit card stuff, that he charged things on your credit card. Is that right?
A couple things.
Couple of things that you were annoyed at.
No.
Well, you say here in your answer that you were annoyed at that.
No, I was just stating the fact that he owes me money too, but we both
Well, he owes you money too. So what you're saying is he owes you money too, but he gave you $400 for the rent. Is that what you're saying?
He gave it to
Baloney! He gave you the money to pay the ticket, and you had no right to use it for your own purposes.
He told us that he was giving it to us to pay the rent so we wouldn't get evicted and be on the streets.
Let me explain something to you, madam. He had just given you $300 on the 15th. That's according to you. 2 days later, he gave you another $400. How much was the rent?
Pardon
How
me?
much was the rent?
$600.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $400. Your conduct was outrageous.
Thank you.
He's finished with you. You have to say goodbye. Put a period. You're not supposed to do the wrong thing. And you did the wrong thing. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Carpet layer Donna Fouch is suing her son, 24-year-old fireplace installer Michael Schmidt, for a loan to buy a 96 Eagle Talon. Michael says buying him a car is the least she could do.
Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. This is case number 428 on the calendar in the matter of Fouch versus Schmidt. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat, please.
Miss Fouch, this young man is your son. How old are you?
24.
According to what I read in your complaint, he was a little bit of trouble growing up, but then according to you, seemed to, in the last couple of years, straightened up.
Right.
Got a job. He was living on his own, taking care of his own bills. When he came to you and asked if he could borrow some money for a car, you decided that since he seemed to be doing the right thing, you would lend him the money.
Right.
When did he call you and ask you if you could lend him some money?
12th of October is when I took out the loan. He called, asked if I would help him.
What did he say?
Mom, my girlfriend's dad came and got the truck I had. I don't have a vehicle to get to work. Would you please help me get a car? For the first time, I said yes, even when my husband said no.
Mom, would you help me get a car? So what did you do?
I told him I would call the bank, get a loan. I went down, picked him up, took him down to the car lot, wrote a check for $2,000.
And?
He took the car, title went in his name, and now he doesn't want to pay the payments. And
Well,
I've been making them.
Talk to me about the payments. So far, I haven't heard anything about him agreeing for the payments.
I told him I would borrow him $2,000. You pay me back at $250 a month for 8 months, and it would be paid.
And what did he say?
I will. He agreed to pay the money
Where was
back.
he working at the time?
He works putting in fireplaces.
You work for a company?
Yes.
You get paid by the week?
Yes.
What do you get paid?
Approximately $400 a week.
Is that what you take home?
Yes.
So it wouldn't have been any trouble to pay back the $250 a month?
It wouldn't have been any trouble if that was the case.
Okay. Is this your girlfriend?
Yes.
Her father had allowed you to use one of his vehicles?
He co-signed for a loan on a pickup, and we split up. And he took the pickup.
Who split up? You?
Me and Kara.
Whose name was the truck in?
Mine and her dad's. He was first signer on the title, so he had the right to take it from me whenever he wanted.
Well, had you been making the payments on it?
Yes.
All the payments?
Yes.
Even after you broke up?
No. Once he took the truck from me, I quit making payments.
But before that, you were making the payments?
Yes.
Are you back together again with the girlfriend?
Yes.
What about the truck?
I still don't have it.
Do you talk to the father?
No.
Do you talk to your father?
Yes.
Why did he take the truck back?
There was the full...
Tell me your name.
Kara Nelson.
Why did your father take the truck back?
There was a lien on the truck, so there was supposed to be full coverage insurance on it, and it got dropped to liability.
Who dropped it?
I did.
Why?
I didn't figure I needed it.
Well, if there's a lien on it, then you have to have it.
I didn't know. I'd never had a vehicle in my name before that had a lien on it.
Well, did somebody discuss it with you after you said you dropped it?
No. He just came and took it after I dropped it. No one said nothing.
Mm-hmm. And how long had you had the truck?
Approximately 5-6 months.
And what prompted you, after 6 months, to drop the expensive part of the coverage?
Because it was expensive. It was a little more than I could afford.
And you didn't discuss that with anybody?
No.
Don't you think you should have?
Yes.
So that was a mistake?
Yes.
So now you understand why you took the truck back, because you
Yes.
did something that was irresponsible.
Yes.
Now, you called your mother, and what did you say to her?
I explained to her that my truck had been taken, and she volunteered to help me buy a car.
Well, what did she say to you?
I'll give you $2,000. That's all I can afford.
I didn't say I...
And I went. I found a car for $2,600. I paid $600. She paid a check for $2,000, and I got my car.
Okay. Now, when for the first time did your mother call you and ask you to make a payment?
I never got a phone call from her afterwards. Next thing I knew, I had court papers delivered to my house.
Well, this was in October that she gave you the money.
Yes.
And when did you have the court papers delivered?
It was approximately a month later.
In November?
Yeah.
And what did you do when you got the papers? You called her and said, what's this all about, Mom?
No, it's... My parents have never been there, so I figured this...
After she gave you the money, October 12th, and you went down and got the car, did you call her the next day, the next week, 2 weeks later?
No.
Why
I haven't
not?
talked to her. We just don't talk. We haven't talked since...
Well, it was easy for you to call her up, Mr. Schmidt, and ask her for money.
Yes. I just figured that was the least she could do for me.
According to your complaint, you have a witness.
Yes, I do. My daughter, Tricia.
With whom your son had a conversation. You're Tricia?
Yes.
I'd like to hear what you have to say.
He told my mom that, or he told me.
I don't want to hear what he told your mom. Only what he told
me
you.
that he wasn't going to pay her because she's never done anything for her, and that when he
Let's
took
go
her-
back a second. After your mother gave him the money, and I assume after he got served with the papers for court, you had a conversation with him.
Yes.
Did you keep in regular touch with your brother?
Yeah, I always talked to my brother.
Well, what did he say to you when he got the papers?
He said, "Mom served me. Mom's suing me."
And you said to him?
She has the right to.
And he said to you?
If she takes me to court, I'm going to tell her that it was a gift and they can't take a gift away.
Did he say why he was going to do it?
Because she never done anything for him.
And what did you say to him when he said to you, well, she never did anything for me?
I said, that's your own business.
Is that the whole conversation?
For that one, yeah.
After that conversation, did you have other conversations with your brother?
Yes, I have.
So you're on good terms with him?
Yes.
You like him?
Yeah. He's family.
You call him, he calls you?
Yes.
He just doesn't call your mother?
No.
He's angry with her?
Yes. He's always been angry with her.
Do you know why?
Because she sent him away.
You know why she sent him away?
Because he always got into trouble with the police.
Do you speak to your mother?
Yes.
So you were on good terms with your mother and your brother?
Yes.
Good for you. Good for you. Thank you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I want you to go like this to yourself. Pinch it hard. Are you alive?
Yeah.
That she gave you.
And later today,
I stuck my hand in the bag and I was poked by a needle. The next day, I had red lines going up to my armpit. My mom came over. She said, you have to go to the hospital. She said, it looks like you have a blood infection.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Donna Fouch says her son, Michael Schmidt, owes for a loan to buy a car. Donna claims Michael has a troubled past.
Think of any reason why your sister would make up a story like that?
No. I talked to my sister that one time after I got served with the court papers.
And you said something like, that's the least she could do for me. She never done anything for me before.
I did say that, but there was no agreement between me and my mom to pay the money back.
What does your mother do for a living?
She works at Winnebago.
What do you do there?
I lay basement carpet.
How much do you earn a week?
I come home with $326.
A week?
A week.
Just you and your husband are at home?
Yes.
Just you and your girlfriend, I assume?
No.
Who else?
It's me and my roommate.
You have a roommate?
We don't live together.
Oh, great. So you have a roommate who
Yes.
pays half the rent?
Yes.
Well, it sounds to me like you're in much better shape financially than your mother.
No. My dad makes a lot of money, too, who also helps pay with her bills.
But she lives with your father, or is this your stepfather?
Stepfather.
He's not responsible for you,
No.
right?
Right.
This is what I don't understand, sir. You would have me believe that without trying to contact you at all, your mother gave you this $2,000 and then went to court and sued you. You would have me believe that she didn't, as she says she did, try to call you several times and you wouldn't take her call, right?
Right.
You see, that makes sense. That's common sense. That has a smack of reality to it, that she gave you this money. She said it has to be paid back because it's a home equity loan. Otherwise, it comes out of the equity in my home, so I have to pay it back. And I'll let you know when the first payment is due. She called you, and all of a sudden you didn't want to talk to her anymore. And you didn't talk to her for a month. And then she said, I have no choice. I'm going to sue him because not only won't he take my calls to even talk about it, but he's so disrespectful to me at this time after he called me for my help, and I was there for him to help him.
For the first time ever?
Let me ask you a question, sir. I want you to go like this to yourself. Go like this. Go like this. Pinch it hard. Pinch it really hard. Are you alive?
Yeah.
That she gave you. Parents aren't perfect, and children aren't perfect. Sounds to me as if your mother has a reasonable relationship with your sibling. So what you're suggesting to me is she was a good mother to one child and not a good mother to the other. Is that what you're suggesting?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Well, is there any particular reason for that you might think? Maybe you were a more difficult child. You think that's possible? The same
It's
child
possible.
that canceled the insurance on a truck when somebody else was responsible for it?
Yes.
Got my drift? After a while, you start having to take responsibility for your own actions, sir. And you're 24 years old. The time is now. And if you, as an adult, say, listen, my mother wasn't a good mother to me, and I've made a choice that I don't want to have anything to do with her. You're entitled as an adult to do that. It's foolish, but you're entitled as an adult to do that. But what you did was you called her and said, I need money. You owe her the money. Pay her the money. It's the right thing to do. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
My mom gets her money. I'm just glad it's over with.
He needs to learn that he needs to pay his bills.
My mom was given an ultimatum when I was 12. My stepdad or me. She chose him.
I guess he'll think what he wants to think.
It's over with.
If he doesn't want to talk to me, that's his choice.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Asplin versus Mays, step forward.
Bus driver Goldie Asplund is suing antique dealer Brian Mays for medical bills resulting from his negligence. Goldie claims she developed a staph infection after she pricked her finger with a pin.
Miss Asplund, it is your claim that the defendant sold you something, and as a result of him selling you something, which you will describe to me, you stuck your finger and got an infection. You want him to pay you $5,000 for your medical bills and all your pain and suffering, etc.
Yes.
Mr. Mays thinks that you're just a scam artist.
That's right.
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
Reading between the lines. So what did you buy from Mr. Mays? Where did you buy it? When did you buy it? And what happened to you?
February 28th, 2004. Excuse me. I went to the Danish American Center with my mom in South Minneapolis. There was an antique sale going on. We entered the hall where the sale was. There were all kinds of tables set up with all kinds of odds and ends. There was a big round table of loose jewelry. Some was bagged, and I found a bag of jewelry beads.
Of jewelry beads? How did you know that they were beads?
It said broken pieces on it.
The bag said broken pieces?
Broken pieces on tape, yes.
Was this in a clear bag? Was it in...
A clear bag, yes.
It was in a clear bag. What were you going to do with broken pieces of jewelry?
Arts and crafts. I have 3 kids, and we do little hobbies.
So you could see what was inside?
For the most part.
Okay, so go ahead.
I get home, I sat down at my coffee table with my children, and I stuck my hand in the bag, and I was poked by a needle. I got up, and I went upstairs, and I washed my hand. My thumb was bleeding a little bit. And I went downstairs, and I grabbed this big crystal ashtray that I have. I took the bag, and I emptied it out. And there were 5 loose needles in there, in this bag of beads where there should not have been needles. As the day progressed, I'd thrown them out, too. I didn't want my kids messing with them, so I threw it out. As the day progressed, that night I had a blood blister where I was poked by the jewelry, or by the needle. And the next day, I woke up with flu-like symptoms, sweating. I felt like nauseous, like I was gonna throw up. And I had red lines going up to my armpit. I wasn't gonna go to the hospital because I don't have medical. My mom came over. She said, you have to go to the hospital. My thumb was totally swollen up and the red lines. She said, it looks like you have a blood infection. I went to the hospital. They took me straight back into the emergency room, started an IV, and when they got the IV going after a couple hours, they brought me up to the hospital, gave me a hospital bed.
Okay, so you stayed in the hospital for a day and a half according to your complaint, is that right?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Goldie Asplund says antique dealer Brian Mays owes for her medical bills resulting from his negligence. Brian says Goldie is trying to scam money.
Now, tell me what happened.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. I have been in the antique business for 35 years. I have a very reputable name in the antique business. On February 27th, 28th, 29th of 2004, I conducted a sale at the Danish Center, and I had several tables in the center of the room. There were several bags, maybe a half a dozen bags, with possibly maybe 6, 8 earrings.
I got it.
And other things. But everything else was single items in bags. I had no broken jewelry there. She had called me up on March 15th, and she called me up and said, did you have the sale? And I said, I did. She said, do you have insurance? And I said, why do you ask? And she said that she had come to my sale, and she was going through the loose jewelry on the card table, poked her finger with a brooch, gone home, got blood infection, ended up in the hospital, almost died, and the doctor said that I should have to pay her $4,000 medical bills.
Okay, so she told you that she was going through the loose jewelry on the table
tables,
and
which have
poked
a
her
photograph.
finger.
Right.
Okay.
And then I said, no, I don't. She said, okay, goodbye. And in October, I received papers from Hennepin County Court, and she had changed her story. And come to find out, after I had talked with her on March 15th, I called up my cashier, and I said, do you believe that this woman is doing this to me? And she said, well, you know what? I worked a sale for another fellow, his name is Steve, and she tried doing the same thing for him. She tried suing him, and after she couldn't sue him, she came after me.
Step up. What is your name, sir?
Steve O'Hearn.
Did you try to sue Mr. O'Hearn?
Can I
The answer is
explain
either
that?
yes or no.
No.
Tell me what you know, Mr. O'Hearn.
She called me approximately March 12th, stated she had been to my sale and bought a bag of jewelry, went home, stuck her hand in the bag of jewelry. There was a brooch in there.
Okay.
And
Not a needle.
Not a needle.
Okay.
I didn't hear needle till today, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
She told me she pricked her finger, got blood poisoning, and wanted me to pay the bill. I said, you're probably going to run me into financial ruin. I said, first thing you need to do is get your receipts so I can see what estate it exactly was from. She called me back about a half hour later, stated to me that she had her receipt, and told me if I'm going to go bankrupt or financial ruins, that she would, there's no sense in her suing.
So how did you get to Mr. Mays?
Through the Danish American Center's log that they had. Whoever rented the hall, they had a log of the name and number. The guy that took down the information, I gave him February 28th, and he was looking at a date before that. The wrong dates. That's why he gave me Mr. O'Hearn's name and number. And Mr. O'Hearn freaked out on me, started cussing me out and stuff. You know, I apologized to him for getting his undies in a bunch. I didn't mean to do that, and he kept hanging up on me. And so I called Brian Mays back and found out, you know, he was the right one on the date, February 28th. He was the one that rented the hall. So I called him, and I told him what happened, and I asked him if he had liability insurance, because
He doesn't need liability insurance. He should have been more careful.
There shouldn't have been needles in a jewelry bag.
I don't believe there were any needles in there. I don't believe there were needles in there. I believe you may have stuck yourself on a pin that was part of a piece of jewelry, and you're making up a better story.
No, I wouldn't come.
Oh, yes, you did.
No,
oh,
I
yes,
don't
you
think
did.
so.
Oh, yes, you did. Because anybody that buys a bag of loose, broken jewelry, even if it's in a plastic bag, would take it and dump it, as you ultimately did in an ashtray. So if you, in fact, you stuck yourself on a broken piece of jewelry, not a needle. And that's what you purchased, and you should have been more careful. And don't blame anybody but yourself. You have to be careful and accept responsibility for what you do, madam. Not everything is a lawsuit. If you buy a bag that says broken pieces of jewelry, you're supposed to be more careful. Your case is dismissed. That's all. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Parties are excused.
Maintenance man West Baum is suing his ex-wife, property manager Lisa Baum, for filing false charges against him. Lisa claims West violated a restraining order.
Come to order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. That's case number 463 on the calendar in the matter of Baum versus Baum. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Mr. Baum, the defendant is your former wife, and it is your claim that she filed a false charge of violating a protective order against you. You want to be compensated for being taken into custody and those false charges. And Ms. Baum said she did not, that you did, in fact, violate a protective order, and she did not accuse you of any crime. She just merely did what she was supposed to do, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When were you and the defendant married?
1984.
And when were you divorced?
1999.
And you have 2 children?
Yes, ma'am.
How old are they?
17 and 16.
When you divorced, who got custody of the children?
I did.
Was that after a trial or by agreement?
Trial.
And these are your 2 girls?
Yes, ma'am.
How long did the girls live with you?
Up till 2003.
So far, are those dates correct?
No, ma'am.
He got custody of the children in 1999?
Yes, ma'am.
And they lived with him until what year?
2002.
What month?
November.
What happened in 2002?
I received a call from him, and he said Katrina wanted to come live with me, so I went and got her. Elizabeth stayed with her dad.
Okay, so Katrina, one child came to live with you in November. That's
Yes,
Katrina.
ma'am.
Did there come a time when Elizabeth went to live with her mother?
Only through why we're here. She went to do visitation. At that point in time, her mother went to the court and filed a protective order saying that I gave her a black eye.
When was that?
August of 2002. No, 2003, I'm sorry.
And so from August of 2003 until what time, what month and year did Elizabeth stay with you?
December of 2004.
And what happened in December of 2004?
On December 1st, Katrina and I had gotten into an argument that morning, and the girls proceeded to go to school. Elizabeth went to school and decided she didn't want to be with me anymore, so she left school grounds without anybody's permission, got a ride to her dad's work, and she's been there ever since.
When did you find out that she was missing?
like 30 minutes. I called the school because I kind of had an idea. I had called Elizabeth's cell phone.
Well, if you had an idea, then something more happened. Then you had an argument with Katrina, Miss Baum.
No, ma'am, it was just an
Well,
argument.
then why, if you had an argument with one child, why would you think that something happened to your other
Because
child?
Elizabeth went to the school and told them that she wanted Child Protective Services called.
Against you?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, so well, that would give you a clue.
But it was unfound.
Just a second. But that would give you a clue that there was trouble. And that all happened on December 1st.
Yes, ma'am.
Step up. You're 17, Elizabeth?
Yes, ma'am.
You live with your father?
Yes, ma'am.
What happened in your house December 1st?
December 1st, my sister, we got ready for school and came downstairs, and my sister and my biological mother had gotten into an argument. My biological mother told my sister that she was going to strangle her, and that was not the first time she has put her hands on my sister. And so we went to school. She had called my cell phone. We were at the bus stop.
Well, what did you say to your mother when she said that? Did you say anything?
I just looked at her and was like, no, you're not. And then so we left the house and went to the bus stop, and she called my cell phone and told me to tell my sister to come back home because she has to pack her things and leave. Then we got on the bus and she called my cell phone back, and Katie was on the bus with me. She didn't go home, so she was like, I'm coming to pick her up from school to bring her back home to pack her things and leave. So when I told Katie that, she started crying, and we got to school.
So far, is that right, Katie?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead.
So we got to school, and the senior administrator was upstairs, and she saw that Katie was crying, and she asked me what happened. And I was telling her what happened. Then she took us down to the guidance office, and the resource officer is the one that said he was going to call Child Protective Services.
And who called your father?
I did later that day.
Where were you?
It was right after 3rd block, and...
You mean in school?
Right. And I had a voicemail on my phone, a vulgar voicemail, saying that she was going to kill me too, and that everything was going to come back on me.
You mean it was from your mother?
Right. Yes, ma'am. She was going to be home when I got home, and I was going to get what's coming to me. So after I listened to that message, I called my father and told him what happened. And I guess at that point, it was just, I couldn't take it anymore.
Now, Mr. Baum, who contacted you, sir? The police? Or did you contact the police that
Well,
day?
she called me at work, and I knew I had a protective order against me.
When was that protective order granted?
I have it here in my documents.
Can I have it, please?
Here's a series of protective orders from where it started to where I got custody. But that particular day...
Just 1 second, sir. Why did you file for an initial protective order, Mrs. Baum?
When I picked Elizabeth up, she had a black eye.
When was that?
August of 2003.
Yes?
And I asked her what happened. She told me a speaker fell on her. I didn't believe that. So we talked more throughout the weekend, and then she told me her dad punched her for lying and having people in his house that stole some stuff from him.
What did you tell the magistrate?
I told the magistrate, I showed him a copy of the current protective order that says that he may have telephone contact with the So I went to the magistrate, a protective order was issued, we went to court, and the judge told him that he had to take an anger management class.
You went to the police, Mrs. Baum, is that right, on December the 1st or the 2nd?
The 1st.
And do you have the application that you filled out for the violation of the protective order?
There is no app children in physical contact that I approve. I told the magistrate that Elizabeth was at his house. She does not have permission to be there. If she wants to live with her father, there's a right way and a wrong way to do it.
Just a minute. What you told the judge, according to you,
the magistrate.
That's a judge.
Oh, okay.
Was that here's the protective order. My daughter is there, and she's not there with my permission.
Correct.
That's what you told him.
Yes, ma'am.
Period.
Yes, ma'am.
Based upon that, he issued an arrest warrant.
Yes, ma'am.
How come you didn't tell the judge, Miss Baum, that your daughter had run away, that she had called Child Protective Services against you? All of that you knew by that time.
Your Honor, I did. I told the magistrate the whole story of the whole day.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
You went to file a violation of a protective order, and you knew your daughter wasn't in danger. You knew she wasn't at risk. You knew you would have had a fight with her that day. You knew that she had gone to the school and caused them to call Child Protective Services. And knowing all of that, for some bizarre reason, you elected, instead of going to the family court to try to get the matter resolved, somehow in the family court, letting the situation cool down for a day, seeing how you could resolve it with your daughter, you decided to go in to file a violation of a 6-month-old protective order. And I don't understand what was your motivation.
Your Honor, my issue wasn't with Elizabeth at all that day. It was with my other one.
I understand that your initial problem was with your other daughter, but it was Elizabeth who spoke to the guidance counselor. It was Elizabeth who caused them to contact Child Protective Services, who ultimately contacted you and started all the trouble for you. And you reacted to that, Mrs. Baum, by going to court, and instead of letting things settle down with your 2 girls, going to court and making trouble for your ex-husband.
No, that's
exactly what you did. Oh, yes, that is exactly what you did. Your former husband is suing you for $2,000. He said he was arrested. How long were you taken into custody for, sir?
I was released that day. But if I may add on that?
Yeah.
Prior to that, my daughter called me about 12:30 that day, and because where they live is in a separate city, I told her to call the Virginia Beach Police Department to find out what they would have her do, and they said, come see me. So she got a ride to home, and she got a ride from home to my work. At that point, I got a couple calls on my cell phone. I'm not sure if I responded to a call, if I called her back and said, hey, she's here with me, but do not come up here and cause any trouble. After work, we'll settle this, we'll go through it and find out what's going on and get to the bottom of this. Later that night, she called her, Elizabeth, up. My ex called her Elizabeth up and said, I want your cell phone and your key. She came over to the house and got the cell phone and her key to the house.
Did you go to his house?
I went to the parking lot next door at like 7 o'clock at night to pick up the cell phone that's in my name and my house key.
But not your daughter?
No, she didn't.
No, why? No, because...
Your Honor, I can't pick her up and put her in the car.
Because she didn't want to go home with you.
That's right. So,
and if you, are you telling me, are you suggesting to me that this magistrate before whom you appeared to get a protective order, you told him that your daughter didn't want to go home with you, she was okay with her father, and you went and you got your cell phone because you were worried she would make telephone calls? You weren't worried about her. Worried that she would make telephone calls.
Your Honor,
You're absolutely right, sir. It was vicious and it was vindictive.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today.
After leaving the hospital, Mr. Osborne walked to a nearby Pizza Hut to smoke a cigarette and drink a pop.
Did you do that, Mr. Osborne?
Yes, I did.
With a collapsed lung?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. West Baum says his ex-wife, Lisa Baum, falsely accused him of violating a protective order. West says because of Lisa's actions, he was arrested.
Now, your motivation for going to the judge for a violation of protective order, I believe, was vicious and vindictive and had absolutely nothing to do with the safety of your child. Because your actions that day belie the fact that it had anything to do with the safety of your child, because you went there alone to get your key and your cell phone. And if you actually had fear for your child's safety, you would have called the police and said, please come with me. I have to go get my daughter. She is in danger. You didn't do that.
I did do that. We went to his employment to get her with the police.
They had me arrested.
Just a second.
No, to pick up my daughter. I didn't care what happened to him.
Just a second. And what happened when you went there?
They weren't there. Your Honor, I didn't get any help from the police.
You didn't need any help getting the key and the cell phone, only your daughter. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount requested, $2,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Now I married a beautiful wife, and she has a problem with it.
I left messages with him, you know, call me, let's work this out, and I don't get any reply. I think he's afraid of what his wife will say.
She didn't want me, and she didn't want nobody else to have me.
No, that's not true.
It's the first time that I've gotten justice in the court system for a long time. I feel good.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Osborne versus Lacey. Step forward, please.
Truck driver Charles Osborne is suing his former friend, writer Michael Lacey, for injuries due to a car accident. Charles says he was a backseat passenger when Michael choked on coffee and drove his car off the road.
Mr. Osborne.
Yes, ma'am.
You were a passenger in a car that was being driven by Mr. Lacey, according to your complaint. I don't know where you gentlemen were on your way to, but you're going to tell me you were sitting in the back seat. According to what I read, there was an accident, you were injured, and you want to be compensated for your medical bills, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And Mr. Lacey says this was an accident and you weren't wearing your seatbelt and whatever. Take care of your own medical expenses.
Yes, ma'am.
What were you doing in Mr. Lacey's car?
Mr. Lacey had been commandeered by my business partner, Frank Owen, to drive us to Rushville, to small claims court.
Who had to be in small claims court?
Mr. Owen did.
And what happened, sir?
We were eastbound on Route 52, and Mr. Lacey had just passed a car doing about 58, 60 miles an hour. And he had taken a drink of coffee at the time, and when he did, he choked on the coffee. He held the accelerator to the floor. We went off to the side of the road. Frank was in the front seat. He tried to grab the wheel to hold it on the road. And I had pulled my seatbelt off quick and tried to jump over the seat to grab the wheel. But at that time is when we went off the road, and the car ended up going over some ravines and went catty-corner into a telephone pole, which hit like the rear door. And I slammed the door, knocked the power window buttons out of the door, broke the window out with my head. And the next time I knew, we finally stopped dead, and the airbag went off, and Mr. Lacey turned around to me and he said, "I believe we were in an automobile accident."
I believe you were right. Can I see those pictures? I'm anxious to see.
Sure.
So I assume that
It's the same paper. So
It's the same paper.
Okay.
Can't believe I'm going to get paid for reading the paper. So this says that both passengers, both you and Mr. Owen, were taken to the hospital. Is that right?
Yes.
What were the extent of your injuries?
I had a collapsed lung, and I still have the problem. I can move my head over this far on the left, and I can come all the way over on the right, but I still can't move it completely right.
Well, what would you have to move it all the way over for? What particular
I
exercise?
probably wouldn't unless I was looking at
I'm just curious.
I don't know, Your Honor.
Wait. Doctor, it hurts when I do this.
No,
Don't
I know.
do that.
No, I'm just curious. What is it in your life, in your work or social life or whatever, that would require you to go all the way over on you?
Well, I'm a truck driver, and I have to leave my head out the window a lot of times to see the cars.
Well, you go out like this. You don't go down like this, right?
Well, I go like this to
Yeah,
leave.
you go right just like that. That's enough.
Okay. All right.
Seems to me that's enough.
Okay.
So you don't have any long-term disability. You had some short-term problems. Let me
Yes.
see that medical bills, please,
Okay.
and what the doctor had to say about you.
Have an ambulance bill and the hospital bill and the doctor bill.
Okay.
But the one's gone into collection, so but they're all together same dates.
Okay, Mr. Lacey, why shouldn't you be responsible for this? Didn't you have insurance?
I did not have insurance. It had lapsed.
Oh, Mr. Lacey, that's a big problem for you, sir.
Yes, I realize that, Your Honor.
Well, then why don't you think that you personally should be responsible for this? You were at fault in this accident.
I was at fault in the accident, but the plaintiff here says that he was injured and he was out of the car walking around when I regained consciousness from the airbag and did not exhibit any signs of trauma until the ambulance arrived. And then when the ambulance did arrive, he immediately went into a convulsed state and, made it sound like there was something wrong. And the rest of us were all walking around. He had been walking around.
Well, Mr. Owen was taken to the hospital, sir.
Mr. Owen was not taken to the hospital.
According to this, he was.
He was not.
Well, he was. And you're responsible. And if he wanted to go and get himself checked out, that's his prerogative. Mr. Osborne, you're suing for $5,000, sir. Why?
The hospital bills were $2,100.
Correct.
I was off work for 3 weeks, and I'm a percentage driver. I'm paid average about $820 a week.
Well, you have to show me something that indicates to me, sir, that you received medical treatment during the course of those 3 weeks, and the reason that you were out of work for 3 weeks was as a result of your injuries. Do you have medical records?
No, I don't. I didn't go see the doctor afterwards.
Well, that's unfortunate, sir. If I were out of work for 3 weeks, I would go see a doctor. You want to say anything?
Yes, I would, Your Honor. After leaving the hospital, Mr. Osborne walked to a nearby Pizza Hut to smoke a cigarette and drink a pop.
Did you do that, Mr. Osborne?
Yes, I did.
With a collapsed lung?
I didn't walk like I was jogging the 500, but I made it over there.
I mean, is what you're telling me, with a collapsed lung, you went over, you had a drink and a cigarette.
I tried to have the cigarette. I had the drive.
All right. Mr. Lacey, you are responsible minimally for his medical bills. Do you understand this?
Yes, ma'am.
Otherwise was an accident, and I don't think there was anything irresponsible other than the fact that perhaps you were drinking a cup of coffee and you choked on it. Maybe you should just concentrate on your driving. So you are responsible for his medical bills, not $5,000 for his being out of work, for his being uncomfortable, for whatever else. I don't have any proof of that. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,100. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
21-year-old hairstylist Nina Campbell is suing her ex-boyfriend, 25-year-old construction worker Orlando Noguera, for kicking her out of their leased apartment. Nina says Orlando stopped paying rent until he was ultimately evicted.
All rise. Your Honor, case number 445 on the calendar in the matter of Campbell versus Noguera. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Ms. Campbell, you and Mr. Noguera lived together for a period of time. You were both signatories on a lease.
At one moment in time.
Well, it was more than a moment.
Yes.
According to your complaint, he asked you to leave the apartment. You did leave. Mm-hmm. And you left after you paid that month's rent. So you want that portion of the rent back that you paid.
Correct.
And in addition, since Mr. Noguera asked you to leave, and you claim that he said he would take care of it, his cousin or somebody, your uncle, was going to move in, and did move in to the apartment, that you should be off the hook for the rest of the rent. Mr. Noguera left owing rent on the apartment. Is that right, sir?
That's correct.
And according to you, the landlord is coming after you for the money.
Both of us, yes.
Let me see the notification from the landlord.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When did you move in together?
About the middle of April of last year.
And when did you move out?
The beginning of June of last year.
Why did you move out?
We had broken up and I was forced to move out. I was kicked out.
What do you mean you broke up and you were forced to move out?
I had came home. He was very disgruntled with me, upset, and he kicked me out.
Well, what did he say?
He basically said that he didn't want me in his house and in his bed, which it was all partially mine too. And the next morning I grabbed my stuff as much as I could and left.
Is that right?
Yeah, but not exactly, Judge. That's not exactly the way everything went down.
Is it close?
It's close, yes.
So you told her you didn't want her around anymore?
No. It was a mutual thing. You know what I mean? We had been together for a while, and she had been going through some financial problems, and I had started to feel like I was raising her almost, like I was her dad. You know what I mean? I was teaching her a lot of things, and I felt like she was trying to...
I'm not interested.
Play house with me.
Listen to me. I'm not interested. Did you ask her to leave?
I thought it would be a good idea if she left, and she agreed.
Don't play with me. Don't play with me. I'm just asking you. You didn't kick her out. You didn't punch her.
No, exactly.
I'm just asking you, did you ask her to leave?
Yeah, I thought yes, I did.
And did you, in fact, tell her, Mr. Noguera, that your uncle was going to move in?
My uncle was planning to move in to help me with my share of the rent.
No, Mr. Noguera, that's stupid.
That's not
Let me explain. That's stupid.
I mean, we agreed upon her leaving. When the time that it's my responsibility.
Listen to me very carefully.
To pay for the rent.
Listen to me very carefully.
Okay,
before you say anything that's going to make you look stupid.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I mean, because you don't appear to be a really stupid man.
Thank you. I'd appreciate it.
I said you don't appear to be a really stupid man, Mr. Noguera. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to prove me right.
Okay.
Two people rent an apartment together, and each one of them is paying half the rent. One person says, I don't think it's a good idea that we live together anymore. I think you should leave. And my uncle is going to be moving in. Would you think, sir, that a reasonable person would assume that the rent that your uncle pays would go towards your half of the rent?
Mm-hmm. Yes, a reasonable.
Yes. I just wanted to make sure. Okay. You see how smart you're getting? Who are you?
I'm the uncle.
You get it, don't you?
Yes, ma'am.
Right?
On his moving in, being that her name was still on the lease, isn't it her responsibility to still pay her rent?
I asked the question. Shut quiet.
Yes or no?
Mr. Noguera,
Okay,
listen to me carefully, sir.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Right.
Excuse me.
I ask the questions.
I'm sorry.
I don't answer the
I
questions.
apologize.
What I'm telling you, sir, is between the two of you and the landlord, you're still responsible. Both of you still responsible, individually and jointly. So we can come after both of you.
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. But I assumed that he had...
We broke up, that I came home late because I just needed to get out.
Very bad experience and a lesson learned.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Davis versus Choris. Step forward, please.
Homemaker Catherine Davis is suing her neighbor, airline pilot Philip Choris, for the cost of a chicken and for pain and suffering. Catherine says Philip's dogs got into her yard and attacked her pet hen.
Miss Davis, I assume that you and the defendant are neighbors. Is that right?
Yes.
And you live in a rural community?
Yes.
Where is that?
In Gorham, Maine.
How large a property do you have?
About 7 acres.
And you keep chickens?
4 of them.
Any other animals?
A rabbit and a cat.
Mr. Soros, how large a property do you have, sir?
A little over 1 acre, Your Honor.
And you have dogs?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of dogs do you have?
I have a chocolate lab and a black lab.
Is your property fenced?
No, Your Honor.
According to your complaint, Miss Davis, Mr. Soros's 2 dogs somehow found their way onto your property and attacked one of your hens, leaving it practically dead.
Practically.
Very injured. And as a result of that, your father shot the hen to put it out of its misery, and you want Mr. Soros to compensate you not only for the hen, but also for the trauma, because your daughter witnessed this attack on the hen. And Mr. Soros has 2 defenses. One, that his dogs didn't kill your hen, your father did. And the second is, there was an accident because his dogs just got out when he opened the garage door. Do you have any other defenses that you want me to hear, Mr. Soros?
Yes, Your Honor. I question the nature of the attack, being that within 45 seconds to a minute following Miss Davis's screams, I was in her yard, and I witnessed the chicken entirely intact, unbloodied, making what I would consider normal chicken noises.
Okay.
Didn't take just 1 shot,
Here we go.
2 shots to kill it, Your Honor.
Okay. So, Miss Davis, when did this happen?
Wednesday, October 20th, 2004.
Ever had any difficulty with each other before?
No, but his dogs have been in my yard before.
Did you ever discuss that with him?
No, I didn't know where they belonged.
So when you saw his dogs in the yard, what did you do?
Usually I just shoot them away. But this time they didn't want to leave.
Okay, tell me what you observed.
We were standing in a window, looking out the window at some deer, and all of a sudden 2 dogs come running in the yard, so I ran outside to scare them away. The dogs grabbed a hold of the chicken and was shaking it and chewing on it, and I screamed and yelled to get them to leave. Next thing I know, Mr. Soros is standing in the bushes wanting to know what was going on, and I asked him if those were his dogs several times, and he wouldn't admit that they were.
Can I see a photograph, please?
There's also one of my live ones. They look a little different.
Your Honor, I'd like to please note that the photograph is on the back deck, and that when I saw the chicken, it was alive and well, sitting atop an egg at the back of the yard.
No, actually the egg was on the side of it.
The chicken was sitting on an egg.
Just a second, don't argue with him. He's going to have a chance. He doesn't know that yet, but he's going to have a chance. Well, I'd like to hear from your father.
Okay.
Your last name is?
Trainer.
Mr. Triner, tell me what you observed on the 20th of October.
We were looking out the bedroom window watching the couple of deer that were in the backyard, and I noticed the dogs, and I told Kathy the dogs were out there. She got her shoes on and left to go outside, and I got my shoes on and grabbed the gun and went outside. And when we got out there, the dogs had pretty well tore the chicken up.
What do you mean by that?
The chicken's neck was broke. The egg which the chicken had laid that day was out on the ground. And the chicken was suffering, so I shot it.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to let you stay seated, okay? You think your grandpa and your mom told the story enough?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, now I'll hear you. How did your dogs get out?
Well, I let them out, Your Honor. I was in the backyard playing with my dogs and my son, and I went into the garage for a moment to get something off the workbench, and I heard screaming from the backyard, so I immediately ran towards the woods that separated my yard from Miss Davis's, at which time my two dogs came running from the woods, so I could assume that they had been in her yard. I grabbed them by the collar and put them in the fenced portion of my yard and scooped up my son and put him in the house. Then I immediately ran into Miss Davis's yard, and she was standing next to a chicken, and she was visibly upset and screaming, and I looked down at the chicken, and it was sitting with its wings folded, apparently in its nest, and making normal chicken sounds. And she was very upset. Her father came over with a high-powered air rifle and shot it in the back of the neck at point-blank range. The chicken was still alive after the first shot, so I question how injured it may have been. Secondly, he cocked the rifle again, shot it a second time.
Why do you think he did that? Do you think that he's some sort of sadist, sir?
I don't think he's trained in veterinary medicine, and the decision to put an animal down is not one that anybody can make.
How much do your dogs weigh, sir?
Each about 75 pounds.
And how much did the hen weigh, do you think?
2 or 3 pounds.
And you think that if they just picked it up in their mouth and say that they weren't looking to hurt the hen, they were just looking to play with it?
Well, if
sending it back and forth.
If they did that, Your Honor, they're very courteous dogs because they set it right back down on the egg.
You are responsible. And what you have to say is, I assume that responsibility. Because this gentleman did not shoot this hen out of sport. He may have been mistaken when he believed that the hen was so seriously injured that it could not have recovered. And maybe he was wrong when he said that the hen's neck was broken. That's still your fault.
Your Honor.
That's still, listen to me, that's still your fault. But for your irresponsibility, it wouldn't have happened. So you better be careful with your dogs. Because if instead of the hen, the dogs went over and decided to play with her daughter and inadvertently bit her because she was flailing her arms because she was frightened, that wouldn't be her fault. That would be your dog's fault. That would be your fault.
My dogs have no history of such behavior, Your Honor. If they had, I would let them out of the yard.
You're a dumb man. You are really a dumb man. You're not getting my message. You are so fixed in your position that you're not getting my message. What do you do for a living?
I'm a pilot.
Well, maybe that's why you're fixed, because you have to follow instructions, and if you don't follow instructions and veer off course to the letter, you can cause a great deal of damage. You're also supposed to use common sense as a pilot. You're suing for $4,500. That's outrageous.
6 ਫੁੱਟ ਫੱਟਾ ਕਿ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਕਮਰੇ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਏ ਨੇ